Hey everybody. Thank you so much for your help with the school day SAT here for 2022. Just a few things here just to note. So we're all set for the morning of April 13th. We will have some coffee in the staff caf, so swing by. If that interests you before the day gets started, standard time materials can be picked up in the staff cafeteria. And special service materials will be picked up in room 2200. Allison would like anyone helping in with the special services room to swing by 2200 to pick up a few things and assign something. For standard time folks, we've assigned one of you just to swing down and get materials. Materials should be picked up at the latest by 8:15. I'll be sweating if you pick them up at 8:15, but nevertheless, that's the latest. If you pick up anytime before that, 8 a.m. would probably be the most ideal just to make sure our rooms are set up and ready to go. That would be great. Certainly, if the earlier you get here, flex whatever you need to do in the afternoons in terms of your departure. Students will certainly be lining up at your door by 8:45. They may arrive certainly just prior to that based on kind of what's going on in the foyer and what time they get dropped off. So definitely will need to be ready to check in by 8:45. If you want to start that at 8:30 or just prior to 8:45, even better in terms of kind of just moving things along. This is a long test, which is why you have an extra human in most cases in your room to help kind of spread out the day for you in terms of work. All of you have a SAT school day testing staff agreement. You can either note room supervisor or proctor, it doesn't matter. Check the box, print and sign your name, and put it back in the bin, and you'll turn it in at the end of the day. Before testing, so one of you will be outside your room kind of checking students in. Students technically don't need their IDs to check in at their home school, especially if you recognize them. If that makes you nervous, have them present their ID, have a device out. If they don't, and you can verify them in PowerSchool, P for present, A for absent. If you have any concerns about a student checking in, please let me or Deanne know, or come grab someone. Students can technically check in for the test all the way through when you begin reading directions for the section 1 of the actual test. So if you're still doing pre-admin work, 10 or 15 minutes into when you shut the door, technically a late student can still come into the testing room. Apple Watches, students should not be wearing Apple Watches during the test whatsoever. So those need to be kind of checked in up at the front of the classroom and a caddy somewhere, but those should not be physically on the student. Any kind of watch that they can communicate with. We are not going to collect cell phones. Cell phones should be turned off. Triple check this. They can go underneath their desk, wherever. They should not be physically on them. If you want to use caddies, if you want to use the chalkboard, the whiteboard, excuse me, up at the front of the room, that's fine as well. But they should never have a device physically on them during the test, during a break, etc. Let's see, I think that covers everything here. Pre-administrative tasks. So we've shrunk these as much as we can down to 9 fields. Please note field 5, which is the Illinois state ID number. All of your answer sheets do have student IDs. So as students are checking in, you could already have the answer sheets out on the seats. Students should not pick their seat. Again, there'll be an answer label that they can find on their answer sheet when they sit down, or you can hand it to them as they sit down. When they bubble in field 5, it is their Illinois state ID number, that 9-digit number in the upper left-hand corner of their pre-ID label. Please do not have them, if they bubble in their Vernon Hills ID number, we're going to have a problem. So the only reason they would need a new answer sheet is if there is something wrong with their name. 2 last things. One, about name and gender. Some of our students are using different pronouns or different names than they might on their birth certificate or what's in PowerSchool. The state of Illinois is who communicated their name to College Board in order for the data to come back and for students to receive their scores and to be able to find information in College Board. It is most effective for students to continue to use their legal name until we make a legal name change. So I would encourage students to stay consistent with what's on their answer label and what the state communicated with College Board for now. Certainly, if we make changes in the future relative to their legal name, we can work with College Board to do that. But it creates quite a bit of confusion and problems on the College Board side if there are multiple names with the same state ID number. The last thing that I want to note, we are not encouraging the expertise from Becky Bolito is for students not to send in their 4 free scores. We are skipping that section. There's a lot of nuance right now with college applications. And we want to ensure that we do not put any students based on this score, no matter how good it may be, to create any kind of detriment or issue with the application with that specific school they may end up sending a score to. So certainly they can always send it on the back end. If they qualify for a fee waiver, we can actually send them for free on the back end. So again, we are not going to send scores at least at the beginning or onset of this test. We also do not want students to do the student search or any other optional fields that may require parent approval. Okay, if you have questions about that, grab one of us in the hallway, no problem. Pre-administrative tasks, the testing booklet. There are 4 items, A, B, C, and D. A and B, the form code and test ID, they look fake. They're on the back of the testing booklet you'll hand out to the student. And then test item C is the test serial book number. That is actually on the front of the manual, the test booklet that you will hand that student. The testing room code, item D, Suzanne will give you for your unique room. And the certification statement, students have to write that sentence and sign their name. They will not score the test unless that is signed. So please make sure that you do not skip that part. Again, that happens after the first section, which is the reading section. Also, one of the things that you'll note in your directions, students will be asked to write and print their name, school code, and testing room code on the back of their testing booklet or their manual. So please make sure students do that. It just helps us find things in the event that we need to look something up for College Board. You will, of course, distribute those testing booklets in that serpentine kind of snaking pattern from the front to the back, and then as you go throughout the room, you are writing the test booklet serial number for each student, which is on the front of that testing booklet as you distribute the testing booklet to the student. So there's a series of numbers. That's how you note the seating chart. It is not their name. We have had to refer back to this in the past, so please ensure this is complete before the onset of testing and is ready to go when you return in your materials at the end of the day. During testing, your script begins on page 22. Of course, record your start and stop times. And again, just a reminder that certification statement comes after the section 1 of your test, and that will be in your script. Irregularities. No matter what they are, cell phone disruption or a student going back and forth between different sections, or a student who you noticed went ahead or was in the wrong answer wrong answer section, or there's now more bubbles that were filled in than an hour ago, or any of those types of things. The most important thing you can do is note the time, note the conversation you have with that student, note if it happens again and what the student's reaction is, and the duration of that incident. And sometimes if it happens twice, you need to note it again. So just document and write down everything you can, the time, the section, the duration, the interaction. And then in the least disruptive way, you'll communicate that to me. And again, it's important to address the issue quietly as possible with that student. Obviously, if it's a cell phone, just get the darn thing turned off. If it's ringing, and move on with the test. And again, note those things and we'll deal with it later. Most of the decisions are left up to College Board. We don't know the outcome. We're just literally documenting what we said, what happened, what we did, and then we're moving on. In most instances, they do allow the student to finish testing unless it's gross cheating. And every time I call on this, sort of the answer changes. So that will be up to College Board to do that. If there's a fire alarm, hopefully you've already turned in your attendance sheet. So once you check students in, once you get rolling with the test, you can bring those to Deanne, Abby, or me, and we'll begin to take attendance for the day. If there is an emergency and we evacuate the building, we'll bring attendance sheets back out. Your main responsibility is just note how many minutes you're into that test, and of course, get yourself and the kids out of the building safely, and we'll deal with everything else after that. All your irregularities will be completed by me. Again, your action should be the least disruptive. Don't call College Board on your own unless you're complaining about me. You're highly welcome to do that. And again, I've mentioned record your start and stop times in the standard testing manual. After testing, again, just be patient with us. There's over 30 rooms for us to check in, and we need to make sure we have everything so that we can get all the boxes organized and sorted and ready to send back to College Board as efficiently and accurately as possible. Things that will really help us are when everything is completed, including the staff agreement, the seating chart with those serial numbers, and separating used and unused answer sheets. And then, of course, for this state accountability test, we have the fun testing room materials report, which you see on the screen. It's where we tell you which serial numbers you had going into the test, and you document the number you used and which serial numbers you did use and which ones you're returning back to us. If that is filled out, this will make this process much, much more efficient. If you have any questions during the test, leading up to it, obviously don't hesitate to let Allison or Suzanne and I know. If you're returning materials, 1516 for standard time, 2200 for students with special services or in special services. Other than that, again, one last big thank you to Allison and Suzanne for just their extraordinary amount of time that they've put in to make this day as efficient and organized as possible for you all, and certainly for our kids to do the best that they can on a college reportable exam. So thank you so much, and let us know if you have any questions.